So good morning, guys. As you saw from the email, ShowingTime Plus, which is essentially an umbrella company over ShowingTime Center and Loop, has launched a new offer manager feature. Sandra was looped in. We are definitely starting to see it a little bit in our Baltimore markets. I know Colleen McDermott had reached out really excited about it because her agents are seeing it and asking about it. So definitely something that we are excited to offer in hopes that it improves their ability to organize multiple offers, their ability to communicate with buyers agents, keep everybody updated on what's getting accepted, what they're denying, and just really streamline that whole process. So I have Greg with me today. I am going to hand it over to Greg, and he's going to kind of give us an overview, the benefits, some talking points so that we are ahead of the game, and then Greg will hop off so that we can talk through any questions, concerns, and next steps that we have as we start to work through activating this at the company level and providing it to the agents. So Greg?
Taking it away. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us this morning for this session. My name is Greg Dushinsky. I'm the Customer Success Manager for BHHS Home Sale, as I enunciate. So we'll be going through a slide deck today showing you really the workflows of Offer Manager, showing you the intent behind it, all the communication processes and the benefits to the list side, the buy side, and the brokerage as well. So bear with me for just 1 second as I get my screen shared up. And can everybody see my screen with the Offer Manager logo on it? Okay, fantastic. I am actually going to turn off my screen just to preserve bandwidth, because there's nothing worse than the internet getting funky when you're trying to present. So I'll be back just a little bit once we're done going over the information. So once again, welcome. We're going to look at Offer Manager within ShowingTime Plus today. And I've got a quick agenda of the things that we'll be going over today. It's going to be about 20 to 30 minutes worth of material. But what I wanted to do is go through the process of how offers are submitted today and the benefits of Offer Manager and really how it fits into that life cycle of a listing, where, from going on market to showings to close. We'll then take a kind of high level look at the offer submission process, how an offer is entered into ShowingTime, how the listing agent receives their info about those offers, how the agent can manage offers on a listing in a multiple offer situation, or really manage the offers across their entire inventory. We'll see the other ways, or the various ways rather, that the list side can communicate to all of the buyer agents involved, and then look at a side-by-side offer comparison, which is available, that can be sent to the sellers involved on a listing. Now, the first thing is just looking at how agents submit offers today. And as I mentioned, there's that life cycle. Think of it, listings on market, there's the contract, the list side has their clients, and everything starts out with the showing process. Within ShowingTime, I like to hope everybody's using ShowingTime directly, but there are situations when folks are using pen and paper or another platform by chance. After that, it goes into the purchase agreement, collecting documents and e-signatures in the method that they use today. Maybe that's Loop or DocuSign, or any vendor that they're using right now to manage their documents. Once those are all collected, it comes into the kind of sending and receiving of offers. The buy side sends it over to the list side receives it. It might spark that conversation of, hey, did you get my list? Did you get my offer? Have you reviewed it? And so forth. Then you work through closing with appraisals, inspections, and so forth to get to the sometimes stressful yet happy place, which is the close. And where Offer Manager fits in is in that sending and receipt of offers. The one thing that I always like to stress is that Offer Manager doesn't replace Loop, doesn't replace DocuSign, or that those e-signatures. It doesn't replace that whole process of gathering those documents. What it does, however, is bridge that gap in between that communication process, buy side to list side, and sellers as well. So if we're throwing it into a one-liner, I'd say that Offer Manager is an offer management and communications platform, just aiding the efficiency and ease of keeping everybody contacted with as much information they need to know about the offers process. Now, everything starts out with the submission of the offer. Whenever ShowingTime develops and designs a new product, we try and make everything integrate as smoothly and efficiently as possible. So the offer process is integrated directly into the showing process, first and foremost. So you may be familiar with the schedule a showing button that's on listings within the MLS. When an agent goes in and selects that link or button to schedule a showing, they see that first pop-up within ShowingTime that you may be familiar with, where you start the process of entering a showing request. With Offer Manager, you'll have a button on the left-hand side where an agent can decide to submit the offer as opposed to following the other route and access the offer form to start that process. Now, if they're logged directly into ShowingTime, from the navigation bar on the left-hand side, they can access offers and the submit offer option from the dropdown, or this is in the main menu from the mobile app as well. Everything that we're going to look at today, just so you're aware, it's available on the desktop and it's available in the same manner on the mobile app. All the same information, just formatted for a smaller screen on the mobile. So when an agent, goes into offers, goes to submit an offer, they're going to be presented with a view of a screen to search for a listing. Big benefit here, I think, is that what it's going to do by default is present the photos of your last 12 or most recent 12 showings so that you can access that offer form with a click of a button or click of a photo, rather. And that brings the agent to the offer form. And this is really something they just top to bottom fill out the information. This way they can submit an offer through ShowingTime instead of gathering it all through an email, sending it out, and not really having any notification if it's been reviewed. First step in the process that I always stress is that the listing agent should see the offer instructions, or excuse me, that the buy side should see the instructions the listing agent has entered, just to make sure they're following the correct process. They're submitting all the information to make that first submission a complete offer. Now, after that, it's simply just filling out the form fields and the metrics. In the offer details, what's the purchase price and earnest money, financing type. Are they financing a dollar amount or a percentage can be filled in. Concessions can be added in a dollar amount or a percentage. They can enter in a prospective closing date, as well as provide a buyer name. Contingencies can be filled out if they have them, just turning on the toggles and entering the specific amount of days. They can select how they'd like to be notified for the updates on offers concerning this listing. Now, it's important to note, you might see here on the screen that email is grayed out. Agents can choose to receive information list side and buy side from both text and push notification, but that email is always going to go to make sure that notification is going out in the email format. If documents needed to be uploaded, simply click a button and select those particular documents from your local device to upload. Once again, can be done from the mobile app or the desktop. You'll see which documents have been uploaded and you can remove them if one was added by mistake. Down below, there's an area to enter in comments to the listing agent that you might want to pass off about buyer's interest or their intent, how excited they are, and simply submit that offer to have it entered within ShowingTime. Once they do that, they're going to see a pop-up with confirmation, letting them know the offer has been submitted. And it's also going to trigger an email to them as confirmation. So they have that kind of paper trail through their emails, and also let them know that they're going to receive a read receipt once the listing agent views their offer within ShowingTime. Now, once the offer is submitted, it triggers kind of a workflow of notifications. And they really kind of go almost at the same time. The first of those notifications that's going to be sent out is this to the listing agent, giving them a heads up and pinging them, hey, there's a new offer on your listing. Specific, MLS information and the address and a photo for reference. They can receive this by email, text, and or push notification through the app. Agents also have the ability to set defaults within their profile so that by default, all of their listings in the offer process, they'll receive notifications in a specific way, but they can customize it for listings on a one-off basis as well. From within the email, simply click the orange click to view offer button, and it gives them a summary of that offer that's been submitted. They'll see a breakdown of particular metrics and numbers in an offer summary. They'll see the buyer agent information up at the top, as well as any documents that have been uploaded down at the bottom of the email. Now, the great part of this is that all of this information, all of the documents kind of live together, whether that's in ShowingTime or in an email that we'll see in just a moment. But through the new offer and kind of this view offer screen, those documents can be opened from a mobile device or from the desktop so they can review what's been uploaded. By selecting that contact button for the buyer agent information, it presents all contact information on file within ShowingTime, and highlighting that email or the call or text will start that functionality within their phone or device. Now, just after the agent has received their new offer kind of notification, once they click that orange button that we just looked at to view the offer, it's then going to trigger a separate email that contains all of the information on the offer. That way, they not only have the offer information within ShowingTime, but they have it outside in that email for a paper trail as well. So it'll contain the comments and the details, all that information that was filled out. It'll have all of the documents attached like a traditional email, and have that buyer agent contact information down below in case that direct contact is needed. Now, when the list side clicks that orange button that we looked at once again to view the offer, it does trigger an email to the buyer agent, letting them know that that offer has been viewed. Once again, points of reference with the photo and basic MLS information. It'll have some of the offer details they had just to give them a kind of a remembrance, let them know kind of what the numbers were that they entered, and just let them know when that offer was viewed. But once again, as I always forget to mention, this will be received by email, but can be received by text and or app. Something that an agent, once again, on the buy side can specify as a default in their profile, or update that on a one-off basis for particular offers. Questions at the moment? I know I've thrown a lot of information at you over the past few moments. Sounds like we're okay. All right, either I'm communicating well or I've put everybody to sleep early in the morning. Next thing up is managing the offers. I mean, all well and great that there's a process to submit offers, but how are they managed? You know, especially in those situations or scenarios where there's a multiple offer listing, or for an agent who has a large inventory. So we're looking at the desktop here. We're going to jump into the mobile app views in just a couple slides, but like I said earlier, we'd like to integrate everything within our products so that you have one-stop shopping within ShowingTime. You have your listing information, your showing information. Now you'll be able to have your offer information, as well as contacts as well. So from the desktop navigation bar on the left-hand side, there'll be an offers button. When you select that, you'll see that drop down for my listings. Now, one great benefit for Offer Manager is that any user within ShowingTime that has staff or manager permission, right? If you log in right now into ShowingTime and you see the office, you see office level view, you can access your roster and their profiles, their listings, their showings, and so forth. You'll also be able to access their offer information. So you have that bird's eye view into the offer activity that's occurring within your branch. Just so you know too, this is all from the agent perspective, but for those who have staff and manager access, you'll have an additional option underneath offers for our listings. So you can see your own in case you have any submissions or listings that you're handling yourself, and then you can see kind of the bucket of the entire office. Now to the right, we see all of the agent's inventory represented by rows or these bars running across the screen. Those are all each listings, and all of the offer information lives behind it. They're color coded for the offer status, you know, whether that's been active, whether it's new, whether they're accepted, whether there aren't any active offers. But on each bar, you have a breakdown of summary information for quick reference. You'll be able to see in this column that's highlighted the number of total offers, how many are active, how many are new and haven't been viewed, and so forth. One thing that's important too as well with this view is that the listing that has the most recent activity is going to float to the top of the screen. It's kind of an idea to make sure you don't miss anything. So when you log into the screen, either yourself as a transacting agent or looking in as an office staff or manager. Whatever's at the top is what has come in, what has had activity most recently. Now, there's also some quick action icons here. So you can take some further action directly from the screen without digging in to the listing. The paper airplane icon allows you to access an email template where you can simply select your recipients, customize the notification, attach documents, and send that out en masse. You can also update the offer instructions directly from the screen so that if the offer instructions have changed, maybe there's a new date or time where things are going to be kind of the deadline for reviewing offers, that can be updated here on a one-off basing for the listings. And the agent can also add a new offer or an admin on their behalf. This may arise in a scenario if the agent's working both sides of the transaction, or potentially if somebody emailed an offer in the traditional sense and the agent would like to enter it into ShowingTime to have that documentation and to take advantage of all that notification and the automation. And all they need to simply do is they have that same view of the offer form we looked at earlier, and they just search for it and select another agent, their office affiliation, contact information pre-fills, and they can just complete that info. Now, when they click into a listing, it brings them to what I like to call the listing kind of details page where they can go in and manage that listing in its entirety. And this is that same view of the listing summary for that agent's same inventory from the mobile app. Once again, we have it color coded just for easy reference. Those that are in blue have active offers. Anything with a green banner is going to be a listing with an accepted offer, and those in gray have no active activity offer-wise on them. As I mentioned, clicking into those rows or bars takes you to that listing detail page where you can manage really all aspects of that listing. In the terms of offers, rather. Sorry, as I went a little fast there. We'll look at this in detail in just another slide, as that moves us into communication with the buy side. How can the listing agent send out notifications either to everybody, to one agent, a couple in particular, or not send out notifications when they're making changes? So then the listings detail page, they also have the ability to update their offer instructions here once again. Maybe they've set their instructions as a default in their profile, but they can make changes to it just by clicking and drilling down into the listing within their inventory. They have a count of all total offers and a number of actives displaying to them to keep them up to date. They've got access to each buyer agent's contact information, or once again, highlighting on the email or the call or text will start that functionality within their local device. And then here they also have the ability to update the status of a particular offer. And this is great in the terms of communication because, this offer from Charles Peters, it was received. Listing agent and their client decides they're going to decline the offer. They just update the status within ShowingTime, and then they're prompted for whether or not they're going to send a communication. Maybe they spoke to that individual over the phone and they don't need to send it. They're just updating the status. If they do want to send the notification, they can customize the message and the body, what's being sent, upload their documents, and simply send that specific offer out to that individual with a click of a button. They'll receive their notification by email. Oops, sorry, as I go too fast. Once again, with the reference points of the listing, the customized message, or the default with the listing agent contact info below. Now, the other benefit too, when updating a status, as we look at this example here from Tammy Smith, is the scenario where you're going in to accept the offer. Tammy's offer is being accepted. You want to update the status. A little notification for congratulations. And it once again prompts you for, do you need to send notifications? Who are you going to send them to, or do you not want to send them? Through the toggles at the bottom of the screen that we see here, you can send a notification right out to Tammy or not. Maybe you want to do that, or the agent wants to do that directly. They have the option to do so. The center one is or the center and the bottom are kind of my favorites in this functionality, because when you make one active, you have the ability to decide to make all others declined, as well as send out a notification to every buyer agent who has a declined offer. And once you make your selections, say we did send it out to send notifications for declines as well, they once again get that formatted email and it's specific to their recipients, right? The list agent, excuse me, the accepted agent is going to get their congratulations email and everyone else is going to get that declined update. Very importantly here, everybody is on BCC. So where the mass notifications go out, everybody gets them, but they don't see who else it had been sent to. Now, the last type of communication with the buy side is through a mass notification. Potentially there's information you need to send out. You want everybody to know. Once again, they'll get BCC'd. You simply select that addition sign at the bottom of the screen and access that paper airplane to view the email template. Couple quick steps here of just selecting your recipient group. Who's going to receive this? You can also, I don't know if you can see it up top, but you can send this to all contacts on the listing so that you would include yourself as a list agent, maybe your co-listing agent and your seller on these notifications to keep everybody up to date. Importantly, tenants are not sent this information as tenants don't technically own the listing. It's really only the seller who would need to see that information. You can then customize the message that's being sent out, send that information with a click of a button so that they get that formatted email with the listing agent contact info, their reference points, and once again being BCC'd so no one else sees who it's been sent to. Then comes the communication with sellers. We aim to make life easy, and I think this is a great one here as well. Now, within Offer Manager, there's a side-by-side comparison. One point to note, I didn't want to drill too deep into the gears and the nitty gritty of Offer Manager. We'll do that with kind of the trainers so they know everything. But when a listing is being set up within ShowingTime with its instructions and a contact, say the seller is being added as a contact, the agent can make the decision to either send them all offer information as it's entered into the system or not. Right, so they can decide to have ultimate control and just send the information when they want to, or if they have that relationship with their client, they can make sure every offer as they get it, the seller is going to receive it as well. But with the side-by-side, a couple quick steps once again. Go into that listing detail page, select side-by-side comparison. Point that I always like to note is that in order for an offer to be included within the side-by-side comparison, it needs to have been viewed. When you go to create the side-by-side comparison, anything that has not yet been viewed won't be included. Once you select that side-by-side comparison, you see this screen where you start making customization selections. You can decide what fields are you going to be comparing, what metrics are you going to be showing, comparing side by side. You can then select which offers you want to include in the side-by-side comparison and add any comments to your seller. Maybe there's one that has a lower price, but there's other points that make it a more viable offer. And, you can have that client representation and guidance as well. And it's private between you and your seller. You can then save and preview and see that side-by-side comparison. You'll have the ability to export that side-by-side comparison as a branded PDF and or an editable Excel. It will include the broker logo, the agent photo up top, so it is branded and personalized. And it's really that point that I like to make, that in a few steps through customization and selecting what are you sharing, whose information are you sharing, any notes, take a quick look at the preview, and then email that information to seller to transmit all that information. And it's really one of those things where a listing agent can send this information to their seller from their phone or the desktop if they're using that within a matter of seconds. And then finally, the last kind of topic to look at is a report that contains a life of history for offer information on the listing. The offer activity report is really a life of history. What notifications have been sent, when were offers viewed, status updates to offers, and really a whole history of what's occurred offer-wise on that particular listing. Now, this can be accessed through the agent's log into ShowingTime and going into their reporting tools, but it can be accessed from the listing worksheet where the listing instructions are as well, simply by clicking into the listing activity report. Once they're viewing that report, there's an option to download PDF at the bottom of that stack of blue buttons. and they can simply click into offer activity to pull that PDF of the offer activity out of ShowingTime. Then from within the offers side of the platform, when they're looking at that listing detail page, as I call it, they can get this report from here too. Just selecting that addition sign, which opens up their quick action icons. They have an icon to view the offer activity in a PDF, and simply clicking that button will download the PDF into their local device. Now, that's everything that I did prepare for today. I do have more time. Happy to answer any questions, as I know I just dropped tons of information on you. If you have questions, definitely please let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you.
Hey, Greg, I have a quick question for you with regards to notifying other agents that their offers from their clients have been declined. You had indicated that the system will send an email to all the other buyer agents. Is there a way to set it up so that they can all be texted instead of emailed, so that it's a more speedy notification?
Absolutely. Sorry, just switch my screen around a little bit. I'm going to log into my demo because I love a visual aid. It can be set up that way, but it's dependent on the buy side as opposed to the list side. So the way that the system is set up is that this information is super important. Everybody needs to get it some way. So email's always going to go, because that leaves that documentation and that paper, quote unquote, virtual paper trail, right? Inside of the agent's profile, they've got their profile basics, their login info, listing agent preferences, listing agent other preferences. Here they have information where they can set defaults about how they want to be notified for offers on their listings. Buyer's agent showing preferences, and then right below it, they have buyer agent offer preferences. I myself am doing a little bit of testing to solidify my foundation of the functionality earlier this morning and yesterday, set myself up for text, right? So Sandra, if you could go in there and say, hey, as a buyer agent, I'm going to get that email. I know I'm going to get it for that documentation, but I want that, what I like to call the imminent message, the one that pings you. It makes a noise. It comes up on the home screen of your phone. Go in there and put yourself in for text and or push notification, which I actually recommend even more so than text. Okay.
Great.
The other thing, oh, no problem. The other thing that's always a bonus, I know we went through the communication types and how people can receive information, but as agents, whether the buy side or the list side, your offer activity is going to be available to you within the mobile app or within the desktop. So you can always go back in and review there as well.
Hi, Greg. This is Gary.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, so I'm working in .loop, and I'm working with the buyer. I create my offer, and I want to send it to the agent via .loop, or at least I want them to have access to the .loop ability for them to edit, the listing agent to edit it. How do I do that within this system?
In the future, with some further development, Sandra, which we were chatting about a little while ago, hopefully that's going to be a much more smoother and integrated process. But right now, as I jump in, and once again, I'm set up as a manager in my demo office right here. So you'll see that extra option of our listings. But I can go into my listings, even on the offers I've submitted. In the traditional sense right now, I mean, if they know that they have that access to edit within .loop, I'm not sure of the process, to be quite honest. If there's a link or if there's information that they need to know to access it within .loop, you can enter that into the notification that you're sending to them. Sorry, as I jump in here.
Greg, while you're finding that, my vision for it was that they will run parallel, like meaning that everything our agents are currently doing in .loop, they will continue to do. So they're going to .loop, they'll fill out the details page, they'll prep their paperwork, get it signed, share it over to the listing agent. And I would, like Greg, I think was mentioning, when they share the docs over to the listing agent, include a note. I'm submitting my offer through the ShowingTime offer manager feature as well. And I would say when they submit it through here, they include a note. I've also shared it via .loop. That way they've uploaded it and it's here, but for somebody who uses .loop, they're continuing to keep their files the way they need to be kept and share them the right way so that an agent can edit and return it on the other side as well. So for now, they will run parallel. And then what Greg was hinting at was down the road, because it's all under the same umbrella, they are going to start to work through an integration that will hopefully allow that when I submit my offer through Offer Manager and I attach my documents and I send it, it would potentially go into that agent's listing loop if they're a .loop user. So for now, they would run parallel until we get down the road there.
And I was even getting
for right now, it's PDF only.
Correct. You can upload, I believe, other file types, upwards of 20 megs.
They would be flat files. They wouldn't be ones that you could.
Exactly. So it's that whole process. I mean, I was getting to the point where I was going to email them outside of ShowingTime, but my email's not on at the moment, so it's going to get funky on my other screen. But once again, you can add that comment in. You can notify the buy side, let them know, hey, everything's in .loop. It's here .url. Those documents can be pulled down and uploaded into ShowingTime, so you have that documentation living with the offer and its information within ShowingTime.
Okay.
Hey, Greg, this is Tom Cord. What about the data that you put in that on the actual offer sheet to give them the details?
Mm-hmm.
Who has access to that, and what happens to that data if the offer's not accepted? Is that data that could be used down the road for other purposes?
For your purposes and for the purposes of the brokerage. So the data that's held on to within ShowingTime for the offer process and within Offer Manager, it's there for the use of your offer activity. It's going to be there historically for you if you need to go back to it. As myself, as a manager, I can go in and access that information for other listings that exist within my brokerage. But we keep that data specific into Offer Manager. There's not sharing, even with ShowingTime Plus, as Jen was talking about, which is kind of the new, as she had mentioned, umbrella, which is the best word for it, for .loop, Bridge Interactive, ShowingTime, and listing media services. We all have our own data privacy agreements, and there is information that .loop has that lives only within .loop and isn't shared to anybody else. Same thing with ShowingTime, specifically with offers, specifically with showings, as well as in Bridge. So it's used only privately for your listing and offer needs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Greg, Trina Malloy here with a version 2.0 question as you're talking down the road and utilizing this and integrating with .loop. At some point, will the details page of .loop, where it has the offer price, earnest money, financing type, will those fields auto-populate eventually to this page so the agents aren't doing duplicate work?
That's the intent. So right now there's a whole bunch of, let's call it R&D and discovery that's going on, simply to find out the specific gears and triggers that are working within .loop, the specific gears and triggers within ShowingTime and an Offer Manager, satisfying the specific data agreements that we have in between the specific organizations, and making life as easy as possible for the agents and their brokers. So that is a wish list, so that no one likes to do things twice. So it's being researched at the moment. It's definitely going to take a while for development, simply because of the, how can I say, sensitive nature of the offer process. And it touches a lot of core functionality within ShowingTime. So we always like to make sure that when that R&D is going on, it's complete and as extensive as can be.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think for overall adoption, that's going to be key, as well as risk management. I do have a bit of a concern of agents completing things in .loop and then translating it over to a manual entry and having those things align and not having conflict of info.
Yeah,
but I appreciate
exactly.
that that's on the radar in R&D. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I think when you're, especially with a sensitive nature, especially when there's so many numbers and there's commas and decimal points that could change the information so drastically, that any type of manual input, whether it's filling out an offer or making a sandwich, mistakes can be made very easily.
Is there any disclosures that say the terms and conditions of the actual offer rule if there's a conflict?
You mean a conflict in between offers that are being submitted?
Conflict between what you manually put into this ShowingTime offer manager versus what's actually in the written offer that is uploaded as a PDF.
A specific spot for it.
So instead of purchase price being 618,000, it's entered as 6,180,000, and to me, the signed offer is the binding agreement. But from a risk management standpoint, I think some kind of disclosure saying that is a pretty simple fix until you guys get it completely built to eliminate the possibility of data entry error.
Absolutely. You do have the ability to make adjustments to the offer that comes in. I mean, it's not a final offer. I mean, unless there's signatures and they, say, hey, this is the dead on one that's being done. I'll do some research and reach out to our team to ask that question about, the info and mistakes that are happening on a signed agreement. You can always enter in those notes within ShowingTime so that the agents see it and or update documents as well into ShowingTime that can be transmitted. But I'll definitely do some research and talk to our project management team about your questions and concerns.
Greg, Tom Blufko here.
Hey, Tom.
While we're on this page right here,
Mhm.
as a buyer agent who's filling this sheet out, are all these fields required? In other words, if they skip over one of these fields, is it going to have a box that says, hey, you need to fill this in?
Exactly.
Okay.
I want to say it's purchase price, earnest financing, and amount financed. There's a good number of them that are required. When you don't fill them out, it gives you a pop-up red text. These fields are required for submitting an offer within ShowingTime. Please return and fill these out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I also think as well that there are, how can I say this? Some kind of fallbacks and safety nets about making kind of gross numerical errors, as Rod had mentioned earlier, that if you put in 61,800,000 as opposed to 618,000, believe the system's going to check you on that. Say, hey, this is a huge number. Is this what you intended? Or this is a ridiculously low number. Is this what you intended?
And a follow-up question to that, Greg. If a buyer agent does fill out this sheet and per what Rod said, it's incorrect, I'm assuming that the listing agent in reviewing the offer versus what's here can go back in here and edit this.
Yep, exactly. This is an offer that I actually entered this offer on the list side, but I can go in and change this information.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And no problem.
If I can circle back and, sorry, Trina Malloy here again.
Oh, no
and
worries.
Again, not to harp on that concern of discrepancy while, a $600,000 offer versus 6 million is a drastic one. But if you've got multiple offers and let's see an EMD amount of 2,000 versus 20,000, a offer could possibly be ruled out for that difference in something along that line. So I do think that has a little bit of attention for me. So while the system may catch those drastic ones, multiple offers and a 2,000 EMD versus a 20,000 EMD may make a difference in our client winning in a multiple offer situation. So I do have attention on that. And I know that you do as well. So I appreciate that. While we're on this page, if I can have a follow-up question under the inspections, I see that we can, as far as contingencies, I see there's the opportunity to add another contingency. Do we have the ability to customize that field so we can put in well, septic, or those default because we have a variety of inspections? And can that be manually entered or are those simply drop-down options?
Just to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So they're every time you add another contingency, it just gives you open form fields where you can put them in. Was your question more? Okay. Yep. I didn't know if it was if you have specific contingencies that are frequent on all of your listings in the offer process, can you have those saved as a default into your profile? Because I think that's a great idea.
I think there is a the contract or the agreement of sale, at least in Pennsylvania, has standard options.
Sure.
And those could be as a nice drop down, well, septic, radon. However, if we have the ability to manually enter it, that will complete the task.
Absolutely. Sorry, as I'm scribbling a note about having a drop down potentially by market. But I believe that was one of the ideas within the development of it, because ShowingTime reaches into so many different markets and so many different areas within the states, as well as the Canadian provinces that have specific regulations, rules, and things like that, that being open allows the user to put in any specifics that they like.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
I think it's really important as this rolls out that we help the agents understand this does not take away your requirement of actually reading the agreement of sale. that this corresponds to, I would hope.
Oh, Gary, really?
Yeah, I could see people taking the Cliff Notes version and assuming it's correct. Yep.
Yeah, I think step one in training is pull up this page, download that contract and cross-check them and correct anything that does not translate from the contract before you do that summary comparison, which was a beautiful page, but let's make sure the right terms are in there.
Yep. And it's one thing as well that I recommend to everybody, and Jen and Sandra and I talked about this earlier, is that if I go into my listings once again, the way that this will be enabled is that as a default, you'll see the labels on the top of my photos for my listings marks that the offer form is off. The last thing that we want to do is turn on functionality for a sensitive part of the life cycle of a listing and allow offers to come in to an agent that they didn't know were going to be coming in. Maybe they didn't come to a training, maybe they didn't hear the information, and all of a sudden they start getting offers through ShowingTime. It's going to be a little bit alarming, for lack of a better descriptor. So the way that it will be enabled within your appointment center is that the tool is going to be there, but it's going to be defaulted to off. So an agent can go in. I mean, for my listing on Hoover Lane, I can simply come into here for my quick actions, turn on the offers. Now that I did that, and I go back, there we go, turn on. I turned that on for one listing. I can do that on a one-off basis if I like. So it's, with anything that's new, change is always difficult all around. So if an agent has an inventory, 5, 6, 7, 8 listings, the thing I'd recommend is turn one on and see how it goes and get used to it. Then when they're comfortable with the process, or if they're not comfortable with the process, they don't have to turn any on. But as a listing agent in their offer preferences, they can go in and enable this on all of their listings. This will turn it on for every listing within my inventory, whereas when this first starts out, it's going to be defaulted off and they can turn it on one by one. Gives them the ability to, within their profile, to go in and set an instructions, kind of a default instructions blurb, put in their information that they'd like to see on every single listing when it comes in new, and then it can be updated on a one-off basis as well.
Greg, this is Joanne Poole, and my question is, was this beta tested or will it be beta tested with some agents so that we have direct input from agents to know that this is will be a smooth transition versus
Absolutely.
a hiccup one?
Absolutely. It went through a rather lengthy beta process in a number of markets across the states, not only to get that agent input, because the argument that I always like to have with the engineers is you might see the solution in the tech world, but are you an agent? And you know what I mean? So our team always likes to build things and then check it with the agents first. So there were a few different markets, southern states, northern states, east, west, where we went through beta testings and made changes before fully releasing it.
So are we in a stage now that this is going to be a total rollout?
So
yes.
right,
No, but yeah, exactly, Jen.
it was fully released to all of their markets. We are defaulted to off right now. Because Greg knew ahead of time that we wanted to go through training and make sure everybody was in the loop and understanding exactly how it worked before the agents were utilizing it. So our next step, if we continue to move forward, is to do train the trainer next week, to have a conversation with Rod, Gary, the EVP level, and Sandra, and determine what do we want our go live date to be. And that go live date would mean that it would be turned on at the company level, but still defaulted to off at the agent level. And then the agents would have the ability to go in and default it to on for all listings, or keep it off, but just turn it on for specific listings. So I really appreciate the fact that we can turn it on and give them access without them all being turned on and expected to have been trained and know how to utilize it. So we can kind of baby step through that next steps in that process.
That's great, Jen, because I'm sitting here with my heart pounding thinking, oh my goodness. Agents
Well,
wouldn't even
let's
know
be
what
really
to do with
clear.
this.
This is
Yeah.
live in the marketplace right now.
Yes.
Correct.
Like, so
Correct.
you could see tomorrow a listing that says submit all offers through ShowingTime offer manager, and that's the only way we're accepting offers. So while we want to make sure we take this and train it properly and get it up and running, we got to move. Like, this is like, because other people who are faster adopter, the faster adopter at a small company that doesn't have a Jen and a Gary thinking through the challenges and what might be a problem and making sure we protect our agents, they've just turned it on. But, oh, this is great, let's just turn it on. Well, those people can be out using it today, and we might need to be responsive to that as a buyer's agent at the table tonight. So we gotta move pretty quick on this. We can't wait for several weeks or several months to get it done.
I
Yeah.
saw that on Kingsway Realty listings weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rod, in our marketplace in Maryland, I believe Northrop Realty has been using this for about a year.
Yeah. They might have been one of the beta companies.
And we've had some agents internally asking for this to be turned on.
Yep.
Any other questions for Greg before he hops on? And we can all stay on to address any concerns, next steps, and questions moving forward. But anything else for Greg?
Hey, Greg, I have a question for you as it relates to data coming from Bright into the system. And I can't recall, so forgive me, do you pull agent remarks over?
We do.
And the reason I asked that question is going back to Rod's concern about a disclosure, is that maybe at the office level, Rod, we could add a somewhat of a disclosure so that it shows up in the offers module as a company for us.
So we pull, to be specific, we pull that information. Sorry, as I get to my visual aids, we pull that information into the listing worksheet and where the instructions live. If I jump into my listings, take it down just a little bit so you can see everything. When a listing pulls in, broker remarks go. So with the data feed from Bright, with the data feed from pretty much all the MLSs and boards and associations that we work with, within the listing worksheet, there is a place for additional instructions called notes for appointment staff. Those broker notes or agent notes pull in from the MLS and are basically cut and pasted into notes for the appointment staff. Reason being is that field is internal. It's only seen by those who have access to the listing worksheets, not seen by outside agents. So in the event that they want to cut and paste anywhere within the system, you've got a template where you can do that from.
Would that be visible? Would that content, I guess where I'm going is, since you don't have any type of disclosure opportunity, I'm trying to figure out square peg round hole where we could put some information that would be visible to kind of cover that situation.
To present to the buy side?
Yeah.
You could put that in, undo changes, leave. Inside of the listings or within the agent profile, these can be set as defaults. You can go in and enter in offer instructions. Anybody who goes in to start the offer process online is going to see these instructions at the very top of the offer form. Discrepancy. I can't type today. Update that there. And if I go into, actually, I'm going to go offers and submit an offer. When I go to visit or view that offer form, that information I put in is going to display to everybody who's viewing that offer form right at the top. That's why I always like to stress in these trainings for offer managers that, hey, we've got this offer form and you can fill it out from top to bottom, but very importantly, that listing agent is going to put instructions at the top of the form that you want to check out first and foremost, because it may say, upload this one specific document or the offer won't be viewed. And then the agent goes and submits the offer, and they've got to go back and do the process once again because it's not complete.
Rod, I don't know if that addresses your concern for the time being, if we draft something and just put it in as a matter of course for every listing.
I guess I'm more concerned about it for
Coming the other way.
Consumer.
On the buyer side, submitting the offer where the error could be made that,
Right.
you know, we certainly can help protect ourselves there. I just don't know. I mean, I guess ultimately a signed offer is the binding document, not this tool that summarizes the offers. Now on the receipt end, you know, you got to make sure, I think we do open ourselves to some liability if we rely on the summary and there's a mistake by a buyer's agent in presenting that data. And we didn't dig into the actual document and we somehow don't, you know, present the offers as they were actually legally made, for the consumer, you know, for the seller to make a proper decision. But
yeah, we can't rely on the offer summary of 16 offers and they don't actually look at the paperwork of each offer.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So I think that just becomes I mean, we have that risk all the time, you know, like, you know, somebody has an offer in their email and they didn't see it and they don't know that they don't have another offer and it was better than the offer they accepted. I mean, you're always open to mistakes by people. So that's the reasons we have errors and omissions insurance, and, you know, we have some of our processes in place. But I think thinking through those potential pitfalls so that we can train to them is the most important piece. But I would love ShowingTime to think about whether that disclosure should be on all of these, kind of as a protect everybody, you know, like, hey, ultimately the written offer rules, not the summary that's entered into this tool. Right. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think it can hurt, but I don't know if it I'm more concerned about it, honestly, on the mistake coming in on the buyer side.
Yeah, I almost envision something when they receive the offer, like, here's the new offer, and they click on it to open it, some kind of like checkbox, like, I understand the terms on this summary sheet, you know, may differ from what's in the contract, and the contract is what keeps it in place, like some kind of verbiage there when they're receiving it and opening it.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
When the buyer fills this out and they send it over to the listing agent, if the listing agent does see a discrepancy in this offer summary, can they change the field or is it locked?
No, they can change the field.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's step 1 and step 2 of training, Gary. Step 1, compare it to the contract. Step 2, update it if needed so that it matches before making the comparisons.
That was actually one of the first changes that came after the beta testing. is that it was locked initially.
Yeah, I could have imagined it would have been.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you, Greg. If everybody else can just hop on here for another couple minutes, Greg, I will circle back with any additional questions, concerns, and then catch up before we do train the trainer next week.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Thank you once again, everyone, for your
Thanks,
time.
Greg.
Thank you.
Everybody have a nice day.
Thank you. Okay, any additional questions, concerns? Does anybody have comments, feedback because it's being used in your market and your agents have already done it?
We have some, once again, in the Maryland market that have used it, and it's pretty easy to use to submit an offer. I think from our standpoint, there's a lot of steps that you have to do within Loop, and then you have to duplicate it in that. I think that's gonna probably slow down the adoption rate of it until things get more, to where they can duplicate what we do in Loop.
Yeah, until they can integrate that into it, it's a really nice feature to have it, but it's really an extra step for the buyer's agent that only creates convenience for the listing agent.
Right. Well, and I will say it's a huge convenience, because I know some of the big frustration from our agents now when they get multiple offers, they're not all coming through Loop, and they're spending a lot of time trying to check their email and check their loop and make sure they've gotten everything from their email or paper into the loop. So I do think this will help with that. Like, I think this makes it so much easier to go, okay, I've got 10 in ShowingTime. Especially if that's the only way they're accepting them. Okay, all 10 are in my loop, I'm good. And then they can compare them and finalize the paperwork. So I definitely kind of envision this being a cheat sheet type of process, cross-checking what they're using in Loop, at least until that connection is in place.
And I think that's what will drive adoption, and the reason we need to get training out, even if people don't necessarily embrace it willingly and don't see the value immediately. I think some listing agents will see the value, especially in a multi-offer environment, and they're going to start saying offers will only be accepted through ShowingTime Offer Manager.
I have seen that already.
Yeah, and I think that's where they're driving that efficiency, because right now, it's the golden rule, and the gold is listing. So the guys and girls with the gold are making the rules, which is, if you want to play on my listing, you gotta submit these offers in a way that I can manage them. So,
right.
If I can add to that, even until we have the agents adopting it on the listings with multiple offers, which I agree, Rod, is ideal. What a great tool to use. And I don't say replace, but in lieu of the multi-offer worksheet that's in Loop, because you're filling that out manually. I mean, this would be such an easy way, and it's branded. I mean, what a great way to complete and present to the sellers. I think that's a great tool in and of itself.
Absolutely.
I think that there's some parts of it that are just absolutely off the chart exciting. How many agents are saying that they didn't receive an offer in time? How many agents are saying, I didn't know it went into my spam, and agents are sending it and not following up? I think this kind of puts a platform in place to be able to say the offer was the summary, and everything was submitted. You were notified. We have an activity list showing what happened. Please don't tell me you didn't get it. So yeah, that's exciting to me.
Yeah, and I think that's what was what the ShowingTime folks saw, as they kept getting feedback on, this is where some processes are being broken and we're struggling, and is there a way for us we have all the showing information, we know everybody who showed the property, right? So we're now starting to get offers, and you hit one button and you tell anybody who's shown the property with one button and one email, hey, if you got any interest on this, get your offer in now. Like, there's a lot of power in this thing if it's used right, and hopefully our guys will will slow down and listen, adopt what they can, be nimble enough to adapt to listing agents who require it, and then, you know, it'll build over time. But I think Joanne's comments about the big picture long term, and you start talking about showing up at a hearing, Gary, and, you know, having the log from the system to show here's all the offers we received, and here's, and, you know, you have some like claim of impropriety in a multi-offer situation. You walk in and go, nope, here's the entire, like, boom, you just drop it, you know, here's the evidence. You know, you can take your claim and pack sand. I think there's a lot of positive things.
Yeah, it is a wonderful, wonderful tool. And we are going to have to make sure that across our demographic, everybody is on the same page of how to use it.
Yep. I do think in Maryland, it will be a welcomed change, especially in a list heavy office. I don't necessarily view it as an extra step because we actually don't tend to submit our offers through .loop anyway, just because a lot of times in the agent notes, it says do not submit via .loop, submit via single PDF in an email. And so we're writing those offer summaries anyway. So I think having it all in one place for the listing agent will help tremendously with organization and just keeping in touch with the other, you know, the co-brokes. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Colleen.
Yeah, and I'll mirror what Colleen says. I mean, I think in our marketplace, coming from Long and Foster before, where we didn't have .loop, we had a standalone system. It was all PDF and emailing offers. And I think a majority of other brokerages, there are some brokerages that use .loop, but not to the extent that we use it at home sale, in regard to sharing offers and, you know, being able to get in and modify offers and such like that.
Yep. Yeah, they're heading down the right path for sure. So we will keep moving. Train the Trainer is scheduled for next Thursday afternoon. And while I am with that team, I will get dates, times together so that we have them scheduled so that we can get communications out there. So I will loop back to all of you guys with a go live date so we can start to set expectations and draft communications around all of that.
And Jen, would you think on the July slides for office meetings that we could have something put together? You think is that in the time?
Yep.
I'll make sure to have it in the July
Already in.
Yeah, town hall.
Cool.
Did you say it's already in there?
I said it's already in there. I've got you.
Yeah, if you guys think for 1 minute I build a town hall, you're mistaken. I have to go make sure I know what I'm talking about before I go and start presenting.
So Jen, I have a sales meeting on Tuesday. Is there a little bit of a drip that you can share with me to be able to give to my agents for Tuesday?
Absolutely. I will get that out to you guys today so that you have it.
All right, thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's important that we start communicating this to the agents, that at least they know we're working towards the implementation of it so that it's not a surprise and they're not left wondering, oh, geez, I haven't heard anything about this program in my company. And so we're not behind. It doesn't appear as though we're behind the times. And while we're furiously working behind the scenes, we should be communicating it.
Yep. Yep. The first email went out yesterday letting them know it's activated in their markets and kind of gave them next steps. So we will continue to update that for sure. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate you taking the time to hop on and sharing all of your feedback, questions, and concerns with us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.